Welcome to the George Taylor Ross Address on International Peace, sponsored by the Ruiz Center for International Studies at William & Mary. I am Teresa Longo, Executive Director of the Ruiz Center. I'm very pleased to introduce our guest speaker today, Monica Ruiz. Monica is a program manager with Microsoft's digital diplomacy team, where she works to promote stability in cyberspace and to advance trust, security, and human rights in this domain. Before Microsoft, Monica was the program fellow for the Cyber Initiative at the Hewlett Foundation. She was a recipient of a Boren Fellowship to Estonia, where she researched cybersecurity policy and strategy. She was born in Ecuador and raised in Miami. Monica holds a bachelor's degree from Florida International University and a master's degree from the Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy at Tufts University. Her address today is on the importance of multi-stakeholder digital diplomacy. We are so happy to have you here, Monica. Welcome, and we're looking forward to hearing what you have to say.
Thank you so much, Teresa, and it really is a pleasure to deliver the 2023 George Taylor Ross Address on International Peace, titled The Importance of Multi-Stakeholder Digital Diplomacy. If you could bear with me, I'm going to share my screen as I have a presentation that I'd like to present. Is that coming up okay?
Yes, looks good.
Perfect. Okay, well, although I'm in a virtual format, I wanted to give a warm thank you to everybody at William & Mary for having me. And then I figured I'd start by sharing a little bit of my background. I know, Teresa, you covered that quite well, but figured just to dive in to frame the context of what I'm going to share. So I started my career in international relations more broadly at U.S. Southern Command, which is one of the combatant commands under the Pentagon, focused on everything that is happening in a military context south of the Mexican border. And I focused on civil-military relations. And really that instilled and reaffirmed an interest in international security studies and more broadly international relations. And so from there, I went to graduate school. As you mentioned, I went to the Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy, and once again, doubled down on a focus on security and conflict resolution. But more and more, I started delving into issues of cybersecurity policy. From there, graduated the Fletcher School and joined the Belfer Center at Harvard Kennedy School to focus more on cybersecurity and get a better theoretical and academic understanding of cyber issues that I was focusing on. After that, I went to Estonia for a year under a Boren Fellowship, which is a DoD-funded fellowship, to continue researching cybersecurity strategy and defense, but also learn a lot about Estonia more generally, but particularly this program called the Estonian Defense League Cyber Defense Unit, which is a unit of private sector volunteers that get operationalized if and when an incident happens. And I was interested to understand how that could be applied in a US context. So returned from Estonia and then started working for a philanthropic organization called the Hewlett Foundation as part of their cyber initiative, where again, I could continue looking and researching these issues, but from a different sector, from a different vantage point. And then after my stint at the Hewlett Foundation, I decided to join Microsoft. And so I am now going into my third year at Microsoft, where I focus on digital diplomacy. So I've had the good fortune to work on cybersecurity policy in academia, philanthropy, and the private sector. And it is always fascinating to see how similar the work really is at its core. So what I'm going to do today is outline Microsoft's work related to digital diplomacy, because as threats emanate from cyberspace, things continue to evolve, and approaches to counter these threats must evolve as well. And a key realization in this regard is that no single stakeholder group, whether it's nation states, industry, or civil society, can be expected to tackle these challenges on their own. Instead, it is crucial to leverage the expertise, experience, and resources of all relevant stakeholders, including via a new type of diplomacy, namely multi-stakeholder digital diplomacy. So with that, go to my next slide here. Perfect. So let me kick things off with an overview of cyberspace today in the context of cyber threats, because that will also help get to the heart of why we're involved in this work. In the past few years, there has been an acceleration and a rapid transformation of the way that we use digital technology. And we're seeing more people coming online for the first time, alongside the proliferation of new kinds of internet-connected devices. And this number alone is over 31 billion. However, this same digital transformation also creates new challenges and responsibilities, because of course, the threat surface is also expanding. This creates a wider diversity and increases the complexity of cybersecurity challenges, which means that cyber attacks are rapidly escalating in frequency and sophistication, which is increasingly making cybersecurity a top priority for decision makers. Looking at the bigger picture, it is estimated that the annual cost of cyber attacks to the global economy already tops 6 trillion. So what does this mean? For starters, it means that states have been responding in a variety of ways. More than 100 states are investing in domestic and legislative initiatives, both to regulate what is permissible online and to also increase the resilience of their domestic critical infrastructures. However, this will not surprise any of you. A number of them are also turning to cyberspace into a domain of conflict, which in turn increases instability for all internet users. So often when I moderate a panel, I'd like to ask the panelists what they're most concerned about, or the famous question of what keeps them up at night. So I'm not going to pretend that you asked me that question. And really, I would argue that a key concern for many of us in this space is nation-state cyber attacks are on the rise. So what does this mean? Essentially, what this means is that we may be facing threats that until not so long ago, we only really had to worry about if we were either a nation state or a global company. And all of this is intensified by the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. So let's dissect what this actually means. It's hardly a fair fight, but looking at the big picture, it is safe to say that nation-state cyber attacks have the potential to harm and diminish trust in the entire ecosystem. We believe that this is not in the interest of individual citizens, civil society, industry, or in the international community of states. That said, let me now take a step back and look more at the broader threat landscape. So for this, I will focus on the signals that Microsoft processes, or in other words, what we're seeing. So this information comes from the Microsoft Digital Defense Report that is published every year to share insights from our vantage point. And in terms of volume, we're talking about 43 trillion daily security signals, including the work done by more than 8,500 security experts, analysts, practitioners, and researchers across the company who are actively drawing insights from these signals. And if you look at some of the threats that were blocked over the past year alone, the numbers are pretty staggering. From 37 billion email threats blocked to 34.7 billion identity threats blocked, all the while analyzing 2.5 billion endpoint signals daily. So as an aside, I also wanted to look at the overall state of cybercrime. Clearly, cybercrime is a threat to national security today, as cyber criminals are targeting and attacking all sectors of critical infrastructure, and ransomware attacks are increasingly successful, and the profits from these are soaring and continue to soar. And the cybercrime supply chain, often created by criminal syndicates, continues to mature as well. Almost anybody can buy services needed to conduct malicious activity, which is not really a trivial concern. It used to be that cyber criminals had to develop all the technology for their attacks, but now, in this rapidly evolving cybercrime economy, they can actually rely on a mature supply chain where specialists create cybercrime kits and services that other actors can then buy and incorporate into their campaigns. Over the past 12 months, we've seen that a number of sites offering services has significantly increased, as well as the number of stolen credentials and a variety of phishing kits. Another big concern in this space is, of course, ransomware, as I mentioned. Ransomware is a really interesting topic to look at in this space because, on the one hand, it is largely perpetrated by cyber criminals for money, but on the other hand, these same cyber criminals would likely not be as successful as they are if the international community of states were united in their position and action against such perpetrators. So looking at the data we have, we can see a significant overall increase in ransomware encounters, starting with a surge in late 2019, when ransomware as a service really kicked off, and then again in early 2020 through 2022 during the COVID-19 pandemic. So back to nation state threats. What we have observed is that most nation state actors continue to focus their attacks on government agencies, NGOs, and think tanks, rather than on critical infrastructure targets. The objectives appear to focus primarily on espionage and surveillance, which of course will not surprise any of you here, given that these types of targets, whether it's government agencies, NGOs, and think tanks, oftentimes have information relevant to adversaries' intelligence needs. It is also worth noting that in terms of techniques, these are very sophisticated attackers who continue to focus on techniques that help them maintain stealth and access across the board. However, in somewhat positive news, as organizations invest in securing their accounts, the success rate of these techniques will decline and the detection of attacks will increase. So in response to this, nation state actors appear to be increasing the scale and volume of their attacks to evade detection and improve the likelihood of success across multiple targets. And speaking frankly, the volume-oriented approach to credential compromise will likely continue to be successful as long as there are poorly secured accounts available as targets. So what can be done about all this? On the individual level, in terms of actionable insights, I think it's encouraging that one of the most reliable and important ways to significantly improve cybersecurity across the board remains the practice of good cybersecurity fundamentals and cyber hygiene. And yes, in 2023, that is still very much the case. This means that if we collectively work together, we can focus on it, raising awareness, on training, on capacity building, and this will likely be the case for the foreseeable future. But that's more at the individual level. If we look at the bigger picture, I think there's a big global conversation that is taking place. And I think it's important to really discuss issues of global importance in global settings. So this primarily means tracking conversations that are taking place at the United Nations. Because clearly threats emanating from cyberspace cannot be effectively tackled by any state on its own. So having these types of conversations in multilateral settings is crucial. But that said, I think it's one of the key issues of our time, especially when it comes to dealing with cyber threats. So that multilateral conversation on its own is likely no longer enough. Threats emanating from cyberspace cannot be tackled by states on their own, or by civil society on its own, or by industry on its own. For us to make real progress in this space, we must work together, leverage each other's experience, expertise, and resources so that the outcome is greater than the sum of its parts. That is why we so strongly believe in the importance of multi-stakeholder diplomacy and multi-stakeholder community in this space, and why there is a digital diplomacy team at Microsoft in the first place. This team is part of Microsoft's customer security and trust organization in the corporate external legal affairs department, and it includes individuals from a wide variety of backgrounds. And its members, as you can see from the slide, are based in key hubs around the world, really underscoring that multidisciplinary approach is essential to diplomacy as it relates to this new domain of conflict and the security of our shared ICT infrastructure. And to be clear, this is also not a recent development. If you look back, basically the past decade, you will see fairly consistent engagement from our team in this space. I maintain that engaging in these topics is not only necessary for industry to do, but also the responsible thing for industry to do. And speaking frankly, I'd love to see more companies involved in this space, especially in the context of the United Nations. But to start, Microsoft has long been a proponent for clear expectations for responsible behavior online. We published a white paper on cybersecurity norms in 2014 as a way to support government dialogues on this topic. Continuing this work throughout the years, Microsoft President Brad Smith delivered an address at the 2017 RSA conference calling for a binding international commitment on responsible behavior in cyberspace for governments. And he also called on industry to do more and take more responsibility for promoting security and for greater accountability for governments who violate expectations of responsible behavior. The next year, in 2018, the Paris Call for Trust and Security in Cyberspace was launched to establish 9 fundamental cybersecurity principles endorsed by now over 1,200 multi-stakeholder entities, including 80 governments, more than 35 public authorities and local governments, almost 400 civil society entities, and more than 700 companies. This makes it the largest multi-stakeholder commitment on cybersecurity principles ever. And in 2019, we launched the Cyber Peace Institute together with MasterCard and the Hewlett Foundation and other key partners to advance civil society engagement in cyberspace. The Cyber Peace Institute leads efforts on advocacy, assistance, and accountability, but I will cover more on the Cyber Peace Institute a little bit later. And in addition, we have been supporting initiatives aimed at articulating points of consensus on international legal rules with respect to urgent global problems, ranging from cyber attacks on the healthcare sector to election security, specifically by partnering with the University of Oxford to create what has become known as the Oxford process. So far, this process has brought together legal practitioners from across the globe and issued a number of statements, all of which have been endorsed by more than 100 prominent legal professionals. So the Oxford process, to dive in a little bit deeper, is clarity on the applicability of international law in cyberspace. So here's a snapshot of some of the larger work streams that the digital diplomacy team at Microsoft is involved in. In the interest of time, I will not go into detail on all of them, but of course, Teresa, I'm happy to go as granular as you would like me to do during the Q&A section of this presentation. So at the UN, we are, among other issues, following with great interest the developments related to cybersecurity norms via the open-ended working group. Similarly, we're following developments of a new cybercrime convention and are participating in these discussions in the spirit of fostering meaningful multi-stakeholder inclusion, something that is supported by a lot of countries engaging in international fora. And common to all these initiatives is the recognition that while respectful of the unique responsibility of governments in matters of national security, I think the inherently shared nature of cyberspace requires collaboration between and across stakeholder groups to protect the safety and security of the online world. So speaking of meaningful multi-stakeholder involvement, as I mentioned, I think the Paris Call is particularly noteworthy, given that it is now endorsed by over 1,200 multi-stakeholder organizations and entities. And as mentioned, it brings together 80 governments, 35 public authority and local government entities, many civil society partners, and of course, industry. And it's really a remarkable achievement because it clearly showcases the appetite that exists for multi-stakeholder initiatives in this space today. So looking at some other initiatives, we have partnered with the government of Canada and also the government of Australia and several non-governmental stakeholders to start the Let's Talk Cyber consultation mechanism. And the aim here was and is to help foster a more systematic and meaningful inclusion of all relevant stakeholders into the big global discussion on cybersecurity. As I mentioned, I will be diving into the Cyber Peace Institute now. So the CPI, Cyber Peace Institute, is an independent NGO launched in 2019 in response to the escalating dangers posed by sophisticated attacks. As I mentioned, it was founded in partnership between Microsoft, the Hewlett Foundation, where I was at the time, MasterCard, and other key partners. And it has a mandate to address escalating conflict in cyberspace, as I mentioned, via assistance, advocacy, and accountability. But amid the pandemic, early efforts of the Cyber Peace Institute have drawn attention to the unique vulnerabilities of hospitals and healthcare groups, and the real impact of the increasing numbers of cyber attacks against them. Today has created a publicly available platform with open source information to better understand the harm and impact of cyber attack operations and their perpetrators in the context of the ongoing armed conflict between Ukraine and the Russian Federation. This is titled Platform #Ukraine. And the scope of the platform extends beyond the threats, impacts, and harms in the countries that are parties to the armed conflict and actually includes cyber attacks taking place in other countries. It also offers an overview into the legal and normative considerations with relation to cyber attacks deployed during an armed conflict. So I encourage you all to check it out. The CPI also launched the Cyber Peace Builders Program, which is a network of corporate volunteers providing cybersecurity assistance to non-governmental organizations protecting vulnerable populations in critical sectors, such as healthcare, water and sanitation, food and agriculture, energy, information, and the like. And they have regional advisors working for the program on the ground that act as liaisons between the corporate volunteers and NGOs in need of cybersecurity assistance. And I'm very happy to say that a number of Microsoft employees are part of these efforts, including myself. We're also working to raise awareness among regular citizens, especially also among the youth, via the Digital Peace Now initiative. And this is always a good reminder of how important it is to venture beyond your bubble and not just talk to the usual suspects. So for background, Digital Peace Now is a nonprofit with a mission to build a society of empowered digital citizens who understand the threats of cyber warfare in a world that still lacks clear international guardrails for how states should behave online. In an effort to highlight the human cost of offensive cyber operations, Digital Peace Now has created numerous initiatives centered on education and awareness. And in fact, its Still Vulnerable campaign is a collection of testimonials from individuals who were personally affected by digital attacks to its so they have that, and then also have the Digital Peace University series, which is a free online mini lecture series that brings together renowned experts and professors to break down topics and trends related to digital peace building and the like. And this organization continues to grow and really is generating great momentum across peace, cyber, and youth communities. I currently serve as the board president for Digital Peace Now, and would be delighted if friends from the William and Mary institution would like to get involved. You can, of course, also follow the organization on its social media channels to keep up with updates there. And because it is not enough to just talk about responsible state behavior in cyberspace, we're pushing very hard for responsible industry behavior. And one of the key initiatives here is the Cybersecurity Tech Accord, which now brings together over 150 companies from around the world. The principles that Tech Accord signatories commit to is strong defense, no offense, capacity building, and collective action. And as part of this coalition, Microsoft worked with Tech Accord signatories Cisco, Meta, and Trend Micro to develop a set of voluntary industry principles to tackle the rising threat and limit the effects posed by cyber mercenary groups. So think of private sector offensive actors like the NSO Group and Kangaroo. And the aim here was to gather broad support from other industry partners and cybersecurity tech accord signatories to launch the principles, which we did in coordination and at the recent Summit for Democracy. And it was very well aligned with the executive order that came out on the use of commercial spyware. And there is also some really good work being done, as I mentioned, by the Oxford process on international law protections in cyberspace. So common to all these initiatives is the recognition that while respectful of the unique responsibility of governments in matters of national security, I think the inherently shared nature of cyberspace requires collaboration between and across stakeholder groups to protect the safety and integrity of cyberspace. And to be clear, multi-stakeholder diplomacy is not the same as public-private partnerships. Neither does it mean that industry or civil society get to make decisions that should reasonably be made by governments. Nor does it mean that all stakeholders need to consult on all issues all the time. But it does mean that when an issue is too challenging to reasonably be tackled by one stakeholder group, all relevant stakeholders should come together for the greater good. And I think threats emanating from cyberspace are absolutely one such of those issues. Again, the idea is not to take decision-making power away from states. States take the decisions, but to take the best possible and make the best possible decision, wouldn't it be helpful to have the ability to leverage the expertise and experience of all relevant stakeholders? And I would argue yes. So, in closing, what is needed is meaningful multi-stakeholder dialogue and meaningful multi-stakeholder inclusion, starting from the UN across the board. Because speaking frankly, when it comes to threats emanating from cyberspace, neither the status quo nor the trends are particularly encouraging. In an environment as fast-paced and dynamic as cyberspace, and certainly when it comes to threats emanating from this domain, all stakeholders need to realize that they not only need to do more, but that they need to do more together. So with that, Teresa, I'm very happy to jump into the Q&A section. Thank you.
Thank you. That was really, really compelling. I learned a lot. I took a bunch of notes. I came in with some questions to ask you, and now I have about 10 more. But I'll also watch for the chat to see if, while I'm talking with you, to see if additional questions come in. I guess I wanted to start with a question I had before you spoke that I think we got the answer to, but I just want to make sure. I'm wondering about who takes the lead. And it seems like one of your slides suggested that the tech industry takes the lead, but also you kind of concluded with the notion that there are responsibilities that fall to governments first. So with that, and that the combination of voices really matters. One of the things I want to know is whether that reading is correct that I have, and also like on the day-to-day, how do you do the work?
Yeah, no, happy to chime in. So I think there's no one partner that takes the lead. I think it really is a collaborative, multi-stakeholder effort that needs to be prioritized. I think there's specific strengths that each stakeholder group brings to the table, but I see that more as strengths, not necessarily as taking the lead. But I do think that's really fair framing there. From an industry perspective, I would say like the private sector, owns, operates, and maintains a lot of the critical infrastructure that helps the internet run. And so that gives us very unique visibility to what is happening in this space. And that allows us to assess, well, what does the threat landscape look like? What are things that we should be looking out for? And how can we build resiliency, not only across our tools and services, but for our customers and beyond? And so I think in that sense, industry can provide very unique insights and perspective to what is happening based on the visibility that we have. But ultimately, states have a key role in really developing a lot of the international cyber norms that dictate responsible state behavior online. Of course, in a domestic sense, it's more centered on the development of regulatory frameworks and policies. And then civil society plays a key role, in addition to academia, in terms of raising the awareness of these issues and diving deeper in an academic sense and in a theoretical sense of what could work, what couldn't work. So I really think it is a trifecta of stakeholder groups that need to work together and I guess to your point, lead in certain aspects of the problem. In terms of your second question, day to day, I think it really varies from time to time. Sometimes we'll be very proactive in what is happening at the UN. In fact, we go and try and have a presence on the sidelines of the open-ended working group discussions. We've been fortunate enough to be part of the US delegation, the previous two substantive sessions that took place in New York. And so that gave us an opportunity to be in the room, obviously, not to have a seat at the table. We are not looking for that. We're, again, looking to be active partners and share information. And that's in large part why Microsoft releases the Microsoft Digital Defense Report on an annual basis that really provides an overview of what we've seen happen in a digital context that year.
There are a couple of questions in the chat, and I'll just draw your attention to both of them. The first one has to do with, looks like a question about the Global South, what the key challenges facing multi-stakeholder digital diplomacy in the third world countries looks like, and how can that be addressed? And the second question is an example of stakeholders working together.
Yeah, no, love those questions. So I think the Global South question is particularly exciting to me because I'm originally Ecuadorian, and as part of the digital diplomacy team, all of the colleagues have a different region they focus on, and I focus on Latin America. And one of the things that I've seen, particularly in a Latin American context, but I do think it does manifest itself across the Global South, is this focus on capacity building. So at the UN, you have had the 11 norms of responsible state behavior online that were formulated in the context of the UN group of governmental experts and were then endorsed by all UN states in the context of the open-ended working group. But the conversation, particularly in the Global South, but I would say more broadly, is centered on, well, how can you apply and implement the existing norms that have been agreed to, and how can you build those capacities to do so? And so I think for the Global South, there's a lot of engagement that's going on. We work with organizations like the Global Forum for Cyber Expertise that's working with different Global South countries to create their search teams, to create national cybersecurity strategies, to create those baseline capacities needed in order to not only be more prepared and secured online, but in order to participate across different international fora and really shape those negotiations. So there's a big focus on really building that capacity across the board. In terms of an example of a multi-stakeholder project, so we worked in the context of the COVID pandemic. We worked with the government of the Czech Republic and the Cyberspace Institute and Microsoft as an industry partner to create a compendium for recommendations and best practices to mitigate threats to the healthcare sector. And this came in part because the Czech Republic suffered from several cyber attacks to their healthcare sector. So they were eager to learn from a broader set of stakeholders what are different things that they could have done to mitigate these attacks and to mitigate future attacks to their to that sector. And so we hosted a series of roundtable discussions that looked at different aspects of the problem, right? So we didn't only have cybersecurity experts from a policy standpoint or more technical oriented individuals. We had practitioners, we had doctors in the room, we had IT specialists assigned to several hospitals in the Czech Republic in the room to really talk about what does this problem look like from all these different perspectives, because again, I think cybersecurity is not its siloed, it's not siloed in itself. It really cuts across the board. And so we, as I mentioned, hosted several roundtable discussions where we had all these stakeholder groups talk about best practices. Then we gathered all of these insights and published a compendium report that was done, again, in partnership with the government of the Czech Republic, the Cyberspace Institute, and us. And it was launched on the sidelines of the open-ended working group as a way to inform international dialogues that were taking place in that space, and also very timely because of the COVID pandemic and everything that was happening. And so that's one of the examples that comes to mind.
That's an amazing example. So probably giving the timing of it all, you did that work mostly digitally yourself. So am I right about that? That would have been conversations that were online?
That's correct. Yes, it was a lot of meetings.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that's correct. It was a lot of meetings on Teams.
Well, so, when you think about like the old-fashioned meaning of the word diplomacy, like images of like people seeing each other, meeting each other in person kind of come to mind. Does that also happen?
Yeah, no, it definitely does. And I think COVID colored a lot of that engagement, unfortunately, because there wasn't a lot of travel, there wasn't a lot of in-person interactions. But I think to your point, diplomacy needs that. And that certainly is a key aspect of it, which is why this was brought out in the context of the open-ended working group. And the open-ended working group is, a dialogue, a cyber dialogue that takes place at the UN where everybody flies to New York. And so it was very rewarding for us to be able to have conversations with different state partners, different industry partners, and of course, civil society partners that were there to talk about this issue. I should say we're not fully past COVID, but we're in a much better place now. And so there's a lot of interest and a lot of plans to have more in-person conversations. And in fact, we have another compendium that will be coming down the pike with the government of Brazil, focused on cyber hygiene practices across different strategic sectors. So it's not only going to focus on healthcare, it's going to focus on finance and energy as well. So you're starting to see that transition back to in-person discussions, especially because of your point, Teresa, that diplomacy is well served virtually, but definitely better served in person.
There's another question that just came in around what individuals can do to help with cybersecurity efforts.
Yeah, so I would say get involved. I think from a cybersecurity standpoint, in terms of building your own security and resiliency, I would encourage everyone to take those steps to better secure themselves online, whether it is to have two-factor authentication across all your applications, whether it is to have a password manager that allows you to have very complex passwords and gives you the ability to update them every 6 months. And also be on the lookout for what a phishing email looks like and really raise the flag if there's something that looks not right. So I think there are many things you can do at the personal level, but also more broadly, I would say get involved. I mentioned organizations like Digital Peace Now, which are actively trying to build awareness or trying to bring different types of interests and individuals with different types of expertise on, like under the fold, right, and learn from them. So I think there's many things to do. At Microsoft, we have different types of programs that bring students on board, internships. So it really depends what you're looking for and who you are. But I would say that there's a wide array of ways to really plug in and contribute to this.
There are a couple more questions in the chat that I'd like to get to. I know we're getting short on time, but first, since you've mentioned students, I think that's this Cyber Peace Institute. That does sound very interesting. And did you say you are the board president right now?
So I'm the board president for the Digital Peace Now.
For Digital Peace Now. Okay. How would William and Mary student, what would be the next step for a student to try to learn more about that and perhaps get involved? And are there internships? I mean, are there real sort of concrete ways to join the work?
Yeah, no, totally. So I think at this point, the organization is still maturing across different initiatives. So one of the ways to get involved is follow updates that they put on different social media sites, because oftentimes they will have speakers that talk about issues that may be of interest to students. So definitely like plug in, amplify. They're also starting to have more of an on the ground presence. So they're looking to get to know different types of students that would be interested in engaging with them. I know one of the things they're looking to do is create some sort of a student club at Georgetown University now, but that could also be something that if there is a student or a student club at William and Mary that wants to connect with them and that would be interested in creating a chapter or a group, that's certainly something that I know Digital Peace Now colleagues are eager to do, because their focus is, again, on engaging youth communities and really look at the intersection of peace and cybersecurity. And so that could be another opportunity.
Yeah, it's such an interesting framing too, because a lot of times we hear about, security and war, but your framing of it is around digital security and peace, and it seems really compelling. I think there is just one more question that's seems to be waiting in the room, and it is, what is the big difference between digital diplomacy and public diplomacy, if there is one?
So I think digital diplomacy is a type of public diplomacy. I think digital diplomacy is focused a lot on different issues of relating to cyberspace, right? But there's certainly a lot of overlap and similarities there.
Great. I think we are exactly on time. It has been a true pleasure learning from you. It's great to have our university, our students and staff and faculty listen to you and also have this kind of engagement with the work you're doing at Microsoft. And we very much appreciate your time. And we hope to be in touch with you in the days that come.
That sounds wonderful, Teresa. Well, thank you so much for the opportunity. It's been a pleasure to meet you all virtually, and look forward to crossing paths again.
Great. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Take care all. Bye-bye.